Yo. All right, so I am back with another finished edition. 99% finished. I say that in a lot of my videos. I'm 99% finished. I think that's just my way of coping with the fact that I can't stop spending money on gun parts. But this is my finished AR-15 build. This is my first AR-15, technically AR pistol because it is under 16 inches. It does have a pistol brace on it. For those of you that might not be familiar, there are some weird rules when it comes to um, rifles and how they're classified as either rifles, short barrel rifles, AR pistols, whatever. So this is my finished build. Now, this is something that I'm particularly proud of. Before I continue, let me just show. The gun is empty, nothing in it. So this is something I'm particularly proud of because not only did I build it from mostly scratch, but I got really good prices on this stuff. So before we begin, I know some people, when it comes to AR-15s, especially your first AR-15, some people prefer to purchase the completed weapon. Some people prefer to put it together themselves. I went with the put it together myself route because I just felt a little more satisfied with choosing every specific part the way that I liked. When you buy a finished barrel or a finished rifle, depending on the price point, it's usually got pretty good hardware. It's usually got pretty good action, so forth and so forth. But sometimes there might be one or two things that you might want to change. And I just thought it might be easier if I just picked those parts myself and built it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So with my AR-15, when I built this, I did buy it in two major components. So the upper receiver here, which is a 11.5-inch barrel, which is what I was aiming for particularly. This upper receiver is from Palmetto State Armory, and it did come with a Sig Sauer Romeo 4 red dot for $400. Now, for those of you that might not be familiar with pricing, that is insane. This optic alone is about $400. So to be able to get this optic red dot, which I haven't had any issues with so far, with the upper receiver in an 11.5-inch platform for $400, it's pretty insane. For the lower, I went with a Yankee Hill manufacturing lower. I just like the look of the lower. I like the material it was made out of. I believe this is billet forged, if I'm not mistaken, for the lower receiver. To have the Strike Industries buffer tube on the back with of course, if you haven't been able to tell, I went with the FDE all over this motherfucker. I do have a FDE castle nut, and I do have just I forget the name of this back plate that sits on here that covers the back takedown pin retention spring. I have one that has a built-in sling point, so I do have my sling built into the back. For some reason, I just prefer it to be here instead of wrapped around the brace or the stock. For the pistol brace, because I didn't want to pay the tax stamp with the government to get a what do you call it, a stock, which might be legal to do here in a few months anyway. We'll see how the law turns out. So I went with the SB4, which I do love, although I did see that they came out with an SB5 that has a bit of a chunkier profile. It looks a little bit more like a stock that I'm interested in. It's just it's about $200, so I'm not sure if I'm ready to pay that price, but I have two of these. So anyway, with the SB4, nobody really uses the strap, at least I don't. That's ridiculous, but I do like that it has a what is it, 6 position. Well, I guess the tube is the 6 position, which honestly I don't know what it is, but it feels like this is a 7 position buffer tube. I feel like there's only 6 positions on it. I feel like one of them, I don't know what that is. So somebody tell me if you've had any experience with that, with not being able to use all the positions, but it feels kind of, I'm not going to get into that anyway. For the grip, I did go with the Kung Fu grip from Die Free Co. I love the look of this grip. It does have a better angle than the standard was it A1 AR-15 grip that these usually come with. It's got a nice texturing to it. You can see got a really nice solid texturing to it. I like this little finger groove here for some reason. It just like feels extra crispy when you wrap it around, and it tapers at the top, so it gets a little bit thinner at the top, so it creates a better hand placement, so you don't feel as fatigued with some of the other grips that might be a little chunkier at the top. This grip didn't come with a plug. Naturally, the Kung Fu grip doesn't come with a plug, so I did opt to buy the plug for it, also from Dye Free Co. This fits directly in. I like the way that it just has like the black and FDE contrast, but this plug creates a watertight space in your handle, which I keep a couple of spare batteries for my pistol optic and my rifle optic, and then the tools for my pistol optic and my rifle optic that they come with to adjust windage and to also unscrew the optics themselves. I thought that was a nice little addition to the handle here. For the hardware, I did just go with, you know, some specific parts like the Strike Industries for the takedown pins and the safety lever, and then the magazine release is also Strike Industries. It does have a ambidextrous mag release, but to be honest with you, I don't really like the ambidextrous magazine release because when I'm trying to do like fast reloads, naturally I want to slap the bolt catch lever here. I want to slap that thing home so I can get right back on that weapon. And a lot of times with the ambi magazine release, this lever right here, it gets pushed when I'm trying to slap the bolt and the magazine comes out. So that is one thing that I will say to look out for when you're choosing your hardware. Ambi is not always fun. I've heard some people also complain about extended magazine releases because of the way that they're built. Sometimes when they're like in their truck or it's like pressed against something, it'll accidentally disengage the magazine. So those are two things I will look out for when you're putting together your first weapon. Choose the hardware, definitely specifically. For the trigger, I did go with a LaRue two-stage trigger. I can't remember the exact name. It's like the MBT something, but the LaRue two-stage trigger, it is so crispy. I love this. So it's got a very short wall. Oh, let me take it off safely. It's got a very short wall, as you can see, and then it just breaks. It is just super crispy. Short wall. Oh, you release the bolt first. Short wall, and then break. It's just so crispy. This trigger was about $200. Definitely worth every penny. Some people prefer the one-stage trigger, which I think is like great for like competition or range shooting because you don't have to anticipate that wall. You can just break it right off crispy. But with the two-stage, I like to be able to feel that little wall. I think it gives you a little bit more control and precision, especially when you're trying to make tricky shots, or maybe you're doing CQB, anything like that. I think it's just nice to have that one little percent of hesitation, so you can make sure that that shot is where you really want it, and then you can break. So I do love the LaRue trigger. Wasn't too hard to install. I think the hardest part was installing the back spring for the trigger. That motherfucker was hard to get in there. It just took a little bit of finagling and knowing what you were doing. It was my first time, so I really had to figure everything out on the fly. If you have more experience with installing triggers, you'll probably be much better at it. So this also has, so this is a Breek Arms sledgehammer charging handle, which has a couple of built-in ports that are supposed to aid in gas when you have a suppressed platform. You can put a suppressor on. It's supposed to aid in releasing that gas so it doesn't, get too much gas in your face. I don't have a suppressor on it yet, but I am preparing for that, so that's why I have a couple of these parts geared towards the suppressor. In my experience, I do like the extended levers. They do definitely help out better than the standard charging handle that it comes with. I did go with the Force Green. I just like the way that it kind of bounces with the FDE color scheme. I did go with a few rail scales just to aid in heat retention, keep my hands nice and cool when I'm shooting. I do have just a sling point on this side on the barrel, so I have the sling point here and here. Rail scales for the flashlight, I did go with the Streamlight keeping it streamlined. I have streamlined on my pistol too. This is the ProTac 2, which does come with a pressure pad, which I love because a lot of lights do not come with a pressure pad. You have to buy it separately. This one has been working flawlessly. It does have the strobe built in. It's got a nice weight to it. I like it because when you're running it on the Picatinny rail platform, which I don't have on right now, you can unplug this and then unscrew it from the Picatinny if you need to use it as a handheld. I have it currently on the M-LOK configuration here, which I think keeps it nice and tight with the barrel here with the A5 cage flash hider. So this has a nice, decent setup. I said 99% finished because I know for sure I want to swap out this pressure pad with a I forget the name of the company. I think it's the Axle. I can't remember the name of the company, but they make like a smaller pressure pad that's maybe about this big, maybe about half the size of this one, and it's just got a nice control button that you can just push up with your thumb. But so far, I do like the Streamlight pad. It is nice and comfy. I did try it in a couple different positions on this barrel to compensate with the dye-free Kung Fu grip that I also put on here from the same company that makes the handle. They also make this hand stop, this forward hand stop that just creates this nice indexing point for me, which kind of looks like a tiger claw. I think that's why they call it the tiger claw, but you kind of do the little Kung Fu Kenny tiger claw thing with your hand here. But you can also do, you know, C clamp, or if you want to do the side clamp, you can always also do that. But I just like a nice grip like that. I put a little goon tape on here and just to keep it soft, keep my hand from shredding if I get a little too intense. But I'm thinking about getting some FDE goon tape just to keep it with theme, but you know, it's not too bad. I did want to go with a backup iron option because, you know, why not? If you're going to make a battle weapon something that you can rely on, you might as well have some backup irons. With putting the backup R with all this extra hardware on the top of the Picatinny rail, it didn't really leave a lot of options for the standard irons, which I forgot to mention when I bought this upper from PSA. It did also come with Magpul flip up iron sights, which are plastic, but the posts are still iron. I think that was just a really good price. You know, you get the optic, the upper, and the backup iron sights, but I didn't like those too much, so I went with these. What are these? UTG 45 degree offset iron sights here, which I absolutely love because it's really hard finding a pair that has a good size O-ring for the back iron. Sometimes they're a little bit too small. This does have the double flip aperture, so I can do precise shots with the smaller aperture and then open it up for the larger aperture. So these work really well. They do have a locking lever on the side to keep it from flipping back down if you want to keep it up, but I just like to be able to flip it up and down. These are just really, they come in handy. They weren't too expensive. I think they were like $45 each because you can't buy them as a pair, so it's like $45 for each one. It wasn't too bad. For the optics, I wanted to keep it tried and true because I wanted to, when I got the red dot, I knew I was going to get a magnifier at some point. I didn't know which one I was going to buy, but I ended up getting a really good deal on the Juliet 3, which is also from Sig Sauer, so it pairs with the Romeo red dot. So I have the Romeo 4 red dot with the Juliet 3 micro 3 times magnifier, which I haven't shot with yet. I haven't used the magnifier yet. I haven't been back to the range since I got that. Definitely want to test that out soon. I had to go with an optics riser because I do just like a better indexing point when I'm going to shoulder the rifle. This lines up better with my natural eyesight, so I don't have to bend down as much to get into that optic. When I go to present, I can just look right here, and I don't have to. You basically just tilt your cheek in just a little bit like that, and you're good to go. So I did go with the Overboard Systems optics riser. I can't remember the exact measurements, but I think it was a 3/4. I don't know all the math that they use for this shit. I don't remember it. But this is a really, really nice optics riser. It does fit both the red dot and the magnifier on it. It did come in the FDE. I think this is about $104. If you're looking to get one, I definitely recommend. Before I had gotten like the cheaper version of this off Amazon, which is only like half this size, half this length, so I can only put one optic on it. And I didn't like it because like when I tried to release it, the screws were like really hard to get off of it. And this is just a better option because it holds both of them, and the screws are more reliable. So that's what I've done so far with the AR-15. I do have a standard. I don't think it is standard. The H3. I went with an H3 buffer weight, which is going to compensate for the suppressor I'm going to put on this. And then for last but not least, my bolt carrier group, which is the most important part in my opinion, because it's what's the actual driving machine that's going to cause this weapon to fire and cycle properly. So I did go with a bolt carrier that was geared towards suppression also. This is the Sharps Bro adjustable gas block bolt carrier group, which is, I'm not gonna lie, it did cost a pretty penny. This is about $374. It does have a adjustable gas key here. So, if you put a suppressor on here, if it's a little bit overgassed, you can just adjust this screw here. You can adjust it about a 1/4 inch turn to the left or right to adjust how much gas it's getting, which definitely comes in handy since I don't have an adjustable gas block on this weapon. This is the standard gas block that it came with on the barrel. So not having an adjustable gas block, which is usually recommended for running a suppressed setup, I wanted to have at least a bolt carrier group that I could adjust. So that's why I went with the Sharps Bro, the Sharps Rifle Company bolt carrier group, which is M16 rated. If you're going to go with a good bolt carrier, you do want something that's M16 rated because of the high rate of fire. It's going to come in handy. It's got a nice diamond coating and shit on it. I don't know all the specs, but if you're interested, go to Sharps Bro. It is a nice, very nice bolt carrier group. But yeah, I think that's the finished setup for the AR-15. You're gonna definitely see people say different things about what you should or should not do with your AR. Go with your gut, do some research. I highly recommend building one just so you can get an experience with how the parts function, what they should and should not be doing, and then of course, if you like customization like I do, it just feels nice to be able to put it together piece by piece. I think I'm also not done. I kind of want to replace the dust cover. I've seen some really nice dust covers out there, but this one comes with the regular aluminum. I've heard different things about going with polymer. For one, if you're in a frigid area, it's really cold. Sometimes the metal can freeze and lock up. So when you do go to charge it, it won't flip open. You won't have that. You won't have that issue with polymer, and it won't bend. I guess with this metal dust cover, there is a possibility of it bending if it's under the wrong circumstances, and you also don't run that issue with polymer. So that is something I was considering, is just getting a polymer dust cover to go on this, along with the replacement pressure pad for the Streamlight. But other than that, this has been my little home defense AR-15 in 5.56. This is just my practice magazine. When it comes to magazines, that's the last thing I'll say. I learned that I do kind of prefer the metal magazines. Usually I'm cool with polymer because it is very resistant. It won't bend. But one thing that I've noticed is the polymers feel a little bit chunkier, and when you're doing reloads, the aluminum ones have a slimmer profile, and they just kind of fit in a little bit more naturally. And then another thing is, when the reason why this is my practice magazine is because it cracked. I don't know how that happened. I didn't even shoot it before it cracked. I was just practicing reloads, and it just broke one day. So I'm not sure why that happened, but I don't think I'll anticipate that. These are just practice dummy rounds, by the way. I don't think I'll anticipate that issue with aluminum. So I think aluminum, it's a better option for me. Like I said, it's slimmer profile. Why is it not seating correctly? Anymore. Figure that out later. But yeah, get yourself an AR-15. Do a nice little build. There's a bunch of different optic options. I wouldn't spend too much on optics, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people, they dig right hard for EOTech, And this is no shade to EOTech. They make a great optic, but they are unnecessary. If you're running a home defense weapon, range weapon, even in combat situations, I think EOTech can be a little bit overrated for what it's actually providing. A lot of red dots do the same trick. So I'd keep that in mind when you're thinking about doing an optic and not spending too much money. Another one that people spend an exorbitant amount of money on is aim point. Aim points can be very expensive. Trijicon, anything in Trijicon is going to be super overpriced. And like I said, this is no shade to these companies. They make very good products. But the price point, when you can get other products that do the same thing for half the price or a percentage of the price, I'd say go save your money, because you're going to need to buy ammunition, and ammunition is expensive as hell right now. So use that extra money that you would have spent on those more expensive optics. Go buy some ammo, take your ass to the range, and get more familiar with your weapon. But yeah, other than that, this has been another video. Y'all stay blessed. Have fun.